Hello and welcome. So, I've been knitting and crocheting for over 30 years, if you combine the two. And I also cross stitch and I sew and I do some jewelry making and various other crafts from time to time as well. As I've been crafting for a while, I have started a top tips series where I go over things that I've either picked up, learned, or discovered on my own that might help other crafters, whether they're new or beginning in any kind of crafts that I cover. And this video is kind of related to that, but not really. So in this video, I'm going to go over the different websites and apps that I use and how they kind of help me when I'm doing my crafts. None of these websites have sponsored me or anything, so anything that I talk about here is just because I find it helpful and I think it could help others as well. If there are any online resources that you find helpful or any other apps, then please sound off in the comments below. I'm sure others would like to learn about these things too. So I'll show some of these websites on the screen, but I won't show all of them because some of them will be a little bit obvious. The first one that I found really helpful is YouTube. So back when I was starting university, I had a lot of free time on my hands because just the way that the semesters work and the modules that I was doing, I only had 1 hour of lectures a week. And obviously I had some study time around that, but it was only a couple of hours per week on top of the 1 hour in lectures. So I decided I wanted to try and actually learn how to crochet because I had tried learning when I was younger, but I wasn't able to pick it up very easily. So I took to YouTube and I found all sorts of tutorials for different stitches and different patterns, and I learned how to do the basics there and kind of built on my knowledge from that point. YouTube in general is a really good resource for finding patterns in general, for finding other people who make stuff. There are a lot of crafters and people that sew, knit, crochet, etc. that I'm subscribed to on YouTube, and it's really good to see the kind of other things that people make as well as learning how to do things. I myself have a couple of tutorials that I've made as well, and it's a great way to find more community and learn about different things. Like most of the stuff that I learned with crochet, thinking about it now, has been through YouTube. So, it's a really good resource. So Ravelry is a really good website. If you are already a crocheter or a knitter, you probably already know about Ravelry, but I will give a bit of a small overview of what you can do with it. So it's a brilliant resource for patterns. There are hundreds of thousands of patterns. I mean, there's just yeah, there's a lot, and you can search for them using different terms. There are various filters as advanced search, so you can sort of narrow down to the things that you want. Some of the patterns are free, some of them you have to pay for, but the ones that you have to pay for, you know that that money is going to the designer, to the creator who's selling that pattern. It's also somewhere where you can find information about different yarns. You can find a yarn shop near you. Um, if you're going on a road trip, you can find places that you can get more yarn from. It's also a really good place to, I don't do this because I don't have a big enough yarn stash or not a complicated enough yarn stash. But if you have a lot of yarn where you've maybe bought in bulk or things like that, you can keep track of your inventory on here. And if someone is looking for a particular kind of yarn, they can see your inventory, and then they might ask, can I buy this from you? Or, you can do exchanges and swaps and all that sort of thing. It's really handy for like yarn management. And there's also the community as well. This is like an old school forum sort of situation, where you can talk to other people about stuff, where you're talking about things which are relevant to the community, or you can ask for help with patterns. There are so many different things that you can do with it, and it's a fantastic place. You can always access your patterns, obviously, as long as you can get onto the website and you've got an internet connection. You can access all the patterns that you've bought, but those will always download as a PDF as well, so you can save them to your own computer, so you don't have to log in to access those. And sort of following on from that, there's an app which I have on my phone because Ravelry doesn't have their own smart device app. There is an app called Ravit, which is something you can then link to your Ravelry, and then you can access all of the patterns that you have. I've done a little screen record which I'll put in here, and I'll try and make everything I'm saying line up with with what I did. So on Rabbit, you can find other people's patterns. You can search for them on there, and then you've also got places where you can find yarns. And I'm assuming you can probably access your yarn database as well, like your inventory. And then in the library is where you find all the patterns that you've bought on Ravelry. And here you can open them, you can download them, and there is a pro version as well. Like the main one is free, but there is this pro version, as you can see here, and it's not that expensive. If you do want to have the pro version, it's not super expensive. I've not bothered going for the pro version myself because everything that I want to do with it is free already anyway. If I did get to a point where I wanted to, I would probably get the pro version. Or if I'm at a point where I have a bit more free money, then I might do it anyway because it is a good app and I do appreciate how well it works. So this is Flosscross. I have spoken about it in another video. I'm not sure if that video will come up first or this one will come up first in the upload schedule, but if in case this video is the first one, I will explain it as much as I can. So this is a free website where you can create patterns for anything that needs to be squares. Obviously, it's mostly or it's designed for being cross stitch patterns, but you can use it for anything that would be squares based or different colored squares based. So you could use it for like crochet blankets that are granny squares or corner to corner ones. If you're doing tapestry crochet, I think mosaic crochet would probably lend well to it as well, from what I know. But basically, anywhere where you've got sort of a pixel based picture that you want to make something with, this is a really good place to do it. So you have, I don't know why I've used slot 2 instead of slot 1 on this, but never mind. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you will have seen the bag that I made with this design on it. I didn't make the design, I found the image and I copied it in Flosscross, but it's a super easy way to um, make a little diagram, and it has the scales at the top and the side so you can see, you know, which row, which stitch, which column, what have you, that you're on. And you can also export this as, I'm going to show you what it's like as a PDF. And this is absolutely fantastic because you've got the picture, you've got how many, like 80 by 80, and then you've got the chart as well, so you can follow along really easily. And if you're the kind of person that likes to print out and cross things off, absolutely fantastic for doing that. And then if you have used specific colors on the threads, then it will have a list of all the ones that you've chosen there as well. So if you're trying to figure out how, like which colors you want to buy or anything like that, you can find it there. And it's I really like it. It's really handy. Everything is saved locally. So if I went onto another computer, I wouldn't be able to access this design. I would only be able to access it on this computer. I don't think that this has profiles. Um, no, it doesn't. So it doesn't have, you don't have to log in, you don't have to give anyone your details or anything. The only downside is that you can't access it on any other computers, but you can export things, which means you can take them with you anywhere as long as you have that PDF saved or you've got it somewhere where you can access it. So um, I found this really helpful. Similar website ish is this one, is called Tinkle. I've not used this one myself, but one of my colleagues is doing tapestry crochet of an image, and the way that they got the image was using this pixel tool. You do need to have an account to use this, but basically you can put an image in, or I think it's the pixel tool. Either way, you could put an image in and it will give you a chart with different colors. You can change how detailed you want the color to be, or how, if you want it high resolution or low resolution. Um, so it's really good if you've got a picture that already exists that you want to turn into a chart, rather than Flosscross where you're drawing it pixel by pixel yourself. Judging from the what my colleague has made, it works really well. I could see what the picture was. I knew what it was immediately looking at it, it looked really good. So um, this is one to consider if you're doing anything again made of squares with different colours in. It might seem a little bit odd, but Google Sheets has been really helpful. I did originally use Excel, but then I got a new laptop and I no longer had a license for Excel and I didn't want to pay for one. So I moved over to using Google Sheets instead, but the premise is pretty much the same. So I use it like a pattern book, but a digital one so that I can access it with whatever device that I want to. So I have a different tab for each thing that I've written down. Some of these are patterns where they're ones that I've bought, but I've kind of translated them into a slightly different way so it's easier for me to follow as I'm making it. Or it might be something where I've come up with a pattern completely myself for something I'm making and I wanted to make a record for it. Or like with this, I've got mum's socks. So I have a sock pattern that I found years ago now, which I've kind of not perfected, but I've made changes and things here and there. So I've made the pattern my own. It's not something I've ever sold to anyone, but basically, it's the formula that I have for it, but I've got a different tab for every person that I'm likely to make socks for. So I've got one for mum, one for dad, there's one for me, and one for my uncle, and I think one for my granddad as well. Although my granddad and my dad had the same size feet. So I think I just used dad's pattern when I made socks for granddad several years ago. But it's a good way for me to keep track of all my patterns. I've got this one, which is for my knitting patterns, and then I've got one for my crochet. I did originally have just one for knitting and crochet altogether. And then it got to a point where I had so many of each that it was getting awkward to try and find the ones that I wanted and keep them organized between crochet and knit. So I just split them out and I ended up with two different ones. um, but the reason I find this really handy is because I can make these little tables where I can follow everything along. And as you can see, I've highlighted these sections here. So if I'm getting to a bit where I need to have exactly the right thing done, like knit all, it just is in this format because the rest of it is. So it's not too bad. I can look at it and I can go, I need to do knit all for 50 rows. So I just keep going until I get to 50. And then when I get to an awkward bit like this, where I need to keep track and make sure I'm doing the right stitches in the right place, I then use the fill tool to put a colour in there so I know that I've done that one, so I know what I'm doing next. Or if I'm putting it down to go and do something else, or if I'm putting it down for a couple of days, I know where I was when I get back to it and I'm not going to miss stuff. The only downside to that is that you do need to have access to the internet to be able to access it. But as long as you have internet access, then there's no problem. If I'm ever in a position where I think I might be going somewhere that I need to see my pattern, but I'm not got internet access, I'll just take screenshots of it on my phone so that I can then just scroll through those images and I can use the editor to just draw a line through the bits that I've got to. So I do rely on technology quite a lot. So I have to make sure things are charged up anytime I go anywhere. Along the same lines with having things online, I also use Dropbox a lot. In Dropbox, I keep a lot of my PDF patterns where I've bought things and downloaded them, or ones that I've written myself and exported to a PDF. Because it means that I can access them wherever I am on whatever device I'm on, and I can also save things to it regardless of what device I'm on at the time, if I've bought a pattern or I found an image I want to do something with. It's also where I keep all the photos of everything I make. So when I first started making things, I didn't document much at all. But now I have a sort of a physical journal, which you can see just over my shoulder there. It's nearly at the end, so I've got the next one waiting, sat underneath it. But that journal, I write everything down. Say which yarn I've used, which hook I'm using, and notes about the pattern, the date that I started it, and the date that I finished it. And then I will take a photo of everything when I finished it, and I will also print a picture out and stick it into the journal. But I'll also keep a copy of that picture in my Dropbox, because if I need to look back over something, if I want to have a look at it at some point in the future, I can see it there. I might end up running out of space in that, so it might end up going on a hard drive or a memory stick or something at some point in the future. But I think it will be handy for me down the line when I'm looking at things that I've made, having a picture, a good representation of it, I think is handy. I like having them. Let's put it that way. And it's a good way as well because I've got it like the app on my laptop and my PC and in various different places. It means that if I need to move a pattern or something from one place to another, I can do it really easily without having to use a thumb drive and remember to take it with me and not lose it because sometimes memory cards can get very fiddly and small and they can get lost. So having things saved in the cloud I find really handy. Obviously there are the downsides to that, like if you don't have internet access, you might not be able to access them, but it's never a dire emergency situation if I can't access things. The last thing I want to talk about is a website that I don't use anymore, but I did use for a very long time, and that is Pinterest. So I had an account with Pinterest for a very long time. I think probably around about 2011 or thereabouts. And I did find it quite handy if I was low on inspiration. I found it was good to help me find something to make. But I also found that a large majority of the stuff that I was pinning and saving, I would never touch and I wouldn't go back to again. Um, but I wasn't too bothered about that because sometimes it is handy or would be handy to scroll through and go, oh, actually, yeah, I'm going to make that thing, or that was an idea I had. I'll try and do that thing. But in the last year or so, the amount of AI rubbish that is on there is absolutely ridiculous. It got to a point where I couldn't see the normal non-AI posts because of how much AI there actually was. And I know a lot of people have been duped into buying patterns because they've seen a nice picture on Pinterest. They've gone, oh, I'll get that pattern. They've gone to it, and the picture was AI, the pattern written was AI, and it looks like absolute shit when they come to make it in real life with actual yarn trying to follow the pattern, or they can't even do it at all because the pattern itself is shit, basically. Apologies, mum. I know you don't like me using rude language, but yeah, I can't remember how long it's been now. Probably about 6 months ago, I just deactivated it, deleted it, and I don't use it anymore. And honestly, I've not really noticed a difference in my day-to-day crafting life. Like I haven't found myself going, oh, I'll just check Pinterest and going, oh no, I don't have it anymore. I think when I had it, it felt like it was something that was necessary, but I haven't used it in a long time and I'm not bothered about it. And that's not to say that people shouldn't use it. If you do use it and you find it useful, then that's great. Or if you would find it useful, then by all means, I'm not saying that people shouldn't use it, but just be very wary because there is so much AI on there now. It is almost unnavigable, but for some people, it has its place. So, thank you for joining me. If you found this helpful, please let me know. If there are any sites or apps that you use that I've not mentioned, please pop it in the comments below. I would love to find more things that will help me with crafting, and I'd love to help other people find more things that will help them with crafting as well. If you'd like to find me elsewhere, the link to my link tree is in the doobly doo. Bye for now.